Hello again and welcome back to our course on PowerPoint 2013. In this section we're going to start looking at drawings. We've already looked at images, including photographic images, but with PowerPoint 2013 you also get a good set of drawing tools. Now the first thing I'd like to show you is basically how to add a shape to a presentation. So I'm going to use Control-N to start a new presentation, and then I'm going to insert a blank slide, and on that blank slide I'm going to insert some shapes. Now if we go to the Insert tab, within the Illustrations group there is a Command Shapes with a drop down, and from that drop down we have a whole gallery of shapes that we can include into a presentation. Now the shapes are divided into categories, so we have lines, rectangles, basic shapes, block arrows and so on. And right at the top we have recently used shapes. And although you get a default set of content for this category when you first install PowerPoint 2013, your list of recently used shapes will obviously vary as you use PowerPoint. This is a very convenient way of getting at the shapes you've most recently used in your presentations. Now in order to get us started, let's try this particular shape here. It's called a pie. Click on pie. What you get is a cursor, a crosshair cursor, no apparent pie, but the reason you can't see one is you have to draw it. So if you're using keyboard and mouse, you click with the mouse and you draw your pie. And there we have a shape drawn on a slide, and as you can see, when you first draw it, it is selected. Once you have a shape selected, then you will see a Format tab appear on the ribbon. This is under the heading Drawing Tools. It's similar in function to the Picture Tools Format tab. There are some commands and groups that are similar and some that are different. On the right there is a size group that we can use to resize the selected object. We can also resize the selected object using the handles. Now, as with pictures, the handles in the corner resize without changing the aspect ratio. The handles in the middles of the size and top and bottom can be used to resize the object and upset the aspect ratio at the same time. In addition, we have a rotation handle here. Hover over that so that it becomes a sort of round arrow, and then by twisting round with that you can achieve various rotations of that object. Now something you also get with a drawn object like this, or with most drawn objects anyway, are these types of adjustment handles, yellow ones like this. Now what an adjustment handle does depends on the particular shape, but if you take this pie, watch what happens if I click on that adjustment handle and turn it round. You see how the slice of the pie varies. Now exactly what the adjustment handles do, of course, will depend on the individual shape. To delete a shape is very straightforward. Select it, or just make sure it's selected, press the delete key. Now I'm going to insert another shape. This time I'm going to insert a circle, or I should say an ellipse really. Again, I'm going to do it the same way I did it before. I'm just going to click and drag out to the elliptical shape that I want. That's absolutely fine. Now let me undo that again and repeat that exercise. So again I'm going to do Insert Shapes, choose the same one, the elliptical shape, but this time I'm going to hold down the Shift key. If I hold down the Shift key when I'm drawing a circle, or in fact a square for that matter, then I will always get a regular circle or square. I can't get an irregular one, an ellipse or a non-square rectangle. It will keep it circular in the case of circles, square in the case of rectangles. So that's a way of making sure that you get exactly the same height and width when you're drawing circles or squares. And one last aspect in terms of drawing these kinds of shape, let me move that one over to the side rather than delete it. If I click on Insert again, Shapes again, and this time I'm going to choose the elliptical shape again. Instead of dragging, if I just click on the drawing surface somewhere, so a single click, I would get, in this case, a circle at a default size, which happens to be 1 inch by 1 inch. And having drawn it at a default size, I can either use the controls in the size box at the right hand end of the Format tab on the ribbon, or of course I can resize it using the sizing handles as normal. And if I want to keep it a circular circle rather than an elliptical one, I can hold the Shift key down while I resize it. Now, one thing to be aware of when you're working with shapes is that these shapes can also hold text. If you take the circle on the right here, the one that's selected, all I need to do is make sure it's selected, and if I start typing text, it will appear in that shape. So if I want to call it Big Blue Circle, I can just type in there and it is Big Blue Circle. I could have adjusted the choice of font and the font size before I started typing, but if not, if I just swipe over with the mouse, go to the Home tab, I can choose different font. I could, for instance, go for Algerian font, different font size, say 36 points. And if I click away, I can see that I've got the text inside that shape. The shapes have a text box effectively built into them. Now, with that circle selected and with the Format tab selected, there's a group there, Shape Styles. And in Shape Styles there is a More button which opens up a gallery of shape styles. This has live preview. So watch what happens as I do live preview now and just look at Big Blue Circle. It adjusts the fill color in the shape and the color of the text. So I'm on white text there, but down here I'd be on black text. And I have a number of options there for the style for that shape. Now, the colors that are in use there are basically the theme colors. At the bottom there's a selection there, Other Theme Fills, and I could go in there and try those other theme fills corresponding to variants on the theme. And using that approach, I can get whatever effect, whatever color scheme and so on I want. I'm going to go for this one, I think. Now, in terms of the shape styles, we can also break this down into the individual components of the style. So again, within the shape styles group here, we have a button up there, Shape Fill, that lets us choose the color we can use to fill that circle. Now, there are many possibilities here. We have the theme colors at the top. Choose from one of those. We can go for standard colors. But down here we also have options such as texture, where you could fill that with a texture like that. We have options to fill it with a gradient, so we could go for that sort of gradient where we have darker blue in the middle. We can even fill it with a picture. So you can select a picture and fill the circle with that. There is a new feature also in PowerPoint 2013, which is eyedropper. And with eyedropper, what you can do is to pick a fill color by clicking within the window, and just you click on the color you want, come back here, and you can basically fill the circle with a color that you picked up with the eyedropper. Now, the number of options you've got there for fill are extensive, a great area for you to experiment with. We don't have time to go into all of them here, but as you can see, when it comes to filling a shape, you can pretty much achieve whatever effect you want in PowerPoint 2013. Now, to demonstrate one or two of the other aspects of shapes, I'm going to turn my attention now to Small Red Circle, which is the one here. We can work on shape outline. There are many options for shape outline. We can decide what sort of outline we want around the shape, both in terms of the weight, how thick an outline would you like. Let's suppose you want a really thick 6-point outline. Also with the outline, let's suppose that we want to, instead of having a continuous line, we'd like a dashed line around the outside. And apart from working on the outline and applying any shape effects, which I'll come to in a moment, don't forget that down here we've got the dialog box launcher, which would bring up the Format Shape pane. And with the Format Shape pane on the right, we can look at fill, we can look at line, we can look at shadow, reflection, glow. So for instance, these are the shape effects. Why don't we try a reflection? look at the presets. Let's try that preset reflection there. And you can see now a reflection of that shape. The reflection actually goes off the bottom of the slide, so we'd probably have to do a little bit of work on that one. But with a combination of all of these, possibly using the Format shape pane as well, you can achieve a wide variety of effects on any shape that you draw in PowerPoint 2013. So there we have the basics, if you like, of shapes. In the next section I want to cover one or two particular things. I'm going to leave these two circles in place because they're the two that we're going to use to demonstrate these other points. So I'll see you in the next section.